from Relay FM. This is Upgrade, episode 498 for February 5th, 2024. This episode is brought to you by Fitbod, ExpressVPN, and Squarespace. My name is Myke Hurley. I am currently in New York City. I'm joined by Jason Snell, but we are both in a brand new era. Hi, Jason Snell.
We are. Am I talking to you or your digital persona right now?
Who could tell? We're in our vision era now, Jason.
That's the vision era. That's right. 498 onward, the vision era.
But just because we're in a new era, things still stay the same. Like the Snell Talk question for this week that comes from Mark, who says, what is your preferred time of day to record a podcast?
This is a very interesting question because preferred is a word that, I mean, when would I prefer to record all my podcasts? I'm not sure. What I found is that I record all my podcasts at 9 a.m.
But do you like
or at least a lot of them? Well, I mean, it gets me up out of bed, ready to go for the day. We do the Six Colors podcast. I sometimes schedule other podcasts at 9 a.m. It's not a bad time. I have a lot of collaborators who are further east than me. I don't know. And the Incomparable tends to get recorded in the evening, like 6 or 7 my time, which is hard on those East Coasters because it's so late for them. But I don't know. I mean, as it turns out, both have their advantages. I do downstream in the middle of the day. Usually it's like a 2 in the afternoon, and it's actually kind of weird. So the simple answer to the question is 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. London, when we do Upgrade.
Yep. I prefer what I'm doing right now, which is like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's wonderful, but I so rarely get to do it.
Yes,
really.
Right.
I only record
High
at the time I want to record when I'm in America. When I'm at home, I don't want to record at the time that I record, but such is life. That is just when it is. And
you have
fine.
all the American collaborators, so you have to record late. That's just how it is.
I sure do. If you would like to send in a question of your own to help us open a future episode of Upgrade, just go to upgradefeedback.com and send in a Snell Talk. Now, of course, we do have a lot to cover today with the Vision Pro, but we have other things first that we want to do, and then we can get all high in the sky and talk about the Vision Pro. The first is some follow-up about the Digital Markets Act. Now, we are going to be talking about this a lot, I still think, over the next few months, but we had 4 pieces of feedback at upgradefeedback.com that I wanted to talk about, maybe to clarify some things we were talking about and to also add some different perspectives. Scott said, I appreciate you both covering the DMA news, but I take issue with one thing that you said. You went hard about how a 50-cent per user fee is not hard to make up with a proper business model. I don't disagree, but the bigger issue is now apps must have business models. I know that you're both business owners, and I am too, but I also know there are tons of people who want to make their work 100% free on principle, and now they either can't or hope they don't get popular.
So, I'm going to disagree back with Scott. We were discussing if you accept Apple's terms. You don't have to accept Apple's terms. So anybody who has no business model, the way that this works is you don't accept the terms and you stay free in the App Store. You just can't leave the App Store. And I believe what we said in the episode. So again, I'm going to disagree a little bit with Scott here. I think one of the points that I made in that episode is that what this does is effectively to keep those apps in the App Store. If the idea is to have competition, the apps that Scott describes, basically, they don't want to risk exiting the App Store. Although, again, you'd need more than 1 million users at that point. But yeah, for an app that just wants to stay free, you can just stay in the App Store and do it. The problem with the way it's currently constituted is those apps don't have a choice if they want to stay risk-free and cost-free. Again, the cost is after 1 million, but still, there is a real danger there for a hobby project that somebody is suddenly going to be on the hook for a big bill. So, but don't forget the fact that you can just opt not to take the new terms and stay free in the App Store. And because the way it's working right now, or it's proposed to work right now, that's what all of those apps will do, is just stay in the App Store for free.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that of the two of us, I was leaning more on, I think that the core technology fee is kind of how the App Store should work. But maybe I didn't cover this fully, but like if you have no intention of ever making money from an application, you shouldn't have to pay it, I feel like. But if you want to make money from an app, I think it makes sense to have just like a flat fee that everybody pays rather than a percentage of anything. But that's
Sure.
just my view, but it's a good view from Scott. Mark says, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't developers pay Apple an annual fee to be able to put apps in the App Store? Isn't that how Apple makes money from free apps? Yes. Like, it's true. Like, it's a thing. Like, they make money from free apps that way.
If you want to submit it to the App Store, although even then, I think if you're like an education or nonprofit or whatever, that you get it for free or there's a discount or something. It's not. I mean, does Apple make money at $99 a year off of a free app? I mean, come on.
But don't forget,
I'm sure that
in the EU, that $99 pays for your first million installs, right? Without the core technology fee being applied to it.
That's true.
So that's what that's paying for now.
I doubt Apple views the $99 a year developer fee, which used to be mandatory, and now you can. I think it's only if you're going to be in the App Store. Otherwise, it's free. I want to say.
Right.
That's not a big profit center for them.
No. And I was talking about, I was laughing about the idea of Apple providing refunds as like a thing that you won't get if you use an app marketplace potentially. Marley's wrote in to say, I requested a refund for an in-app purchase last month. It was fairly easy to do so on the phone, and Apple approved it within 24 hours. The day after, the money appeared on my credit card balance. I remember how this used to be very bothersome, but it's not anymore, at least not in the EU. I have no idea if that's a factor, but I suppose it could be. So I'll say a couple of things. One, it 100% is a factor. Like, if it's easier, it's because there. But also, Apple do it, but they don't, like, really do it. Like, it's not like they're very, oh, hey, do you want a refund? Like, I don't believe that the way that Apple pitches the idea of refunds as being a benefit of the App Store is, like, as real as it actually is in reality. Yes, you can get them, but can you? And Alexi writes in to say, I had some thoughts on the quote we were saying, why is the 15 or 30% still a thing? Like, why does Apple still get a commission? It's worth mentioning all the regional tax and other regulations that Apple takes care of for developers. The complexity of accounting, if your app is distributed in worldwide markets, is enough by itself for me to find value in what Apple provides. So, this is a good point, but Apple's not the only company that could provide this service. They just do. And so other companies do and can provide this kind of stuff. Like, I think Stripe do a lot of this stuff.
I think Stripe does it, yeah.
And they don't take 30%. So,
yeah.
Yes, they do a lot of things for you, but they take a much higher percentage than a competing company would.
And ultimately, this is about competition. One of the reasons the 15-30% is still a thing is that Apple has no competition. Apple has made it that they are the only game in town for this up to now. And they're still setting a bunch of rules, and that I think is one of the big reasons that it's still a thing. Is just that there's no. Yes, I don't think we ever are saying like Apple doesn't do anything but pass along the credit card fee, right? Like they host everything, they do marketing, they have a whole App Store, marketing team, editorial team. They do all sorts of stuff that they spend money on for the App Store. It is not zero. But I do think it's very much debatable if 30% off of an in-app purchase of a game that somebody's playing is really earned by what Apple provides or not. And we can't tell because there's no competition.
Nope. So that's the DMA for today. We'll come back to the DMA again.
DMA today.
DMA today.
Let's not make that a segment.
No, let's do it. Come on, DMA today.
DMA today.
It comes on after Snell Talk.
Good morning.
Right?
Good morning. Yeah, that's right. All right, Myke, how'd you do this week? How you feeling? All right, well, let's get to the DMA news.
I have just renamed this chapter in my document to DMA today.
DMA today. All right,
get
alert JD. It's time for some custom DMA today art. Looks like the Today Show's got a little rainbow.
We'll see about that.
An EU flag.
Jason, I ticked off a bucket list item a couple of days ago.
Oh man, this is okay. What was the most exciting thing about your Friday? Was it getting the Apple Vision Pro or something else?
I met Tim Cook.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. So I'm in New York right now. That's where I went for my apps to get the Vision Pro. And I did the Fifth Avenue store because I thought it would be the one that would have the most stock when I was trying to buy.
Yeah, why not?
But also I thought that it would be a cool experience to see, right? That like it would be very big and vibrant and a lot going on, which is definitely the case. It was amazing in there. Plus, that was the store where they put up the big vision like outline, right? Like that was the store that Apple chose to dress up. And when I got to the store, I came down the stairs and I saw Greg Joswiak just standing there talking to a few people.
Joz.
And then I saw probably a group of about 150 people in a huddle, and I was like, Tim's here. And he was. I went into the store, I did my whole thing, and was kind of like hanging around talking to some friends who were there too. So a wonderful friend and contact at Apple PR said to me, would you like to meet Tim? Which I was like, okay. Like it was a very nerve-wracking thing for me because I didn't really know what to do. Like, what do you say to him, right, in an environment like that? So I was pulled through this huddle of people, and I was standing there, and they said to me, can you just hold on for one moment? And I was like, yep. And then Neil Patrick Harris comes up. He starts having a conversation. I'm standing in front of Tim Cook and Neil Patrick Harris having a conversation about the Vision Pro. And it was just one of these things where I was like, what is happening right? You know, like I felt like an out-of-body experience. It's like what is actually happening right now? This is very peculiar. And so I waited for a moment. They were very nice. And so I didn't have anything planned. I didn't know what to say. And so I just said to Tim, like, what an amazing day. Like, this is super cool. Like, I'm really excited. And and he was, and he was saying like, yeah, we're really excited about this too. Like, it's such an amazing product. And I was like, this store is incredible because it looked so great and there people were so excited. And he was like, oh, this is like the perfect place to do something this. We love it. I then said something else that I don't remember. Like, I just don't remember what happened after that. We were talking for like a minute. And then I asked if we could take a selfie, which he was like so good at. He's like, yeah, of course. And we took a selfie, took a bunch of pictures. I said, thank you. I shook his hand twice, which is kind of cool. And then I just ran off into the night. And then I went and just, and
it was daytime.
Then I went and chatted to Joz. And like,
to Joz.
With Joz, I was like, oh, I'm Myke. I work with Jason. He's like, oh, we love Jason. I was like, me too. He's the best.
Nice.
And we were just chatting a bit. And so Joz says
thank you. Yeah, I love Joz. Joz goes back a million years. Like, everybody knows him now. He's in the videos. He's dark iPhone man, right? Mm-hmm. He's the night iPhone. He's the Batman of the iPhone. But like, he was a PowerBook product manager back when I was a very junior editor. He's been doing it forever. Well, that's really great. I have never met Tim Cook, although I have been in the Scrum by Tim Cook. But it's also, I'm doing my job, and also no PR people have said, would you like to meet Tim? So I haven't had that conversation yet, but that's great. It's possible the thing that you blurted out that you don't remember was something like, oh, you put my podcast art back on the
Jason,
keynote.
This is my regret. If I would have thought, I would have had that picture to show him. Like, that's my only regret of it. But also, like, it's one of those things. Like, really, what he would have said? It's like, oh, that's cool. And also, I didn't really want to get into who I am with Tim Cook.
Exactly.
Like, with Joz, it's a different thing, right?
Right.
Because I know, like, you had just spoken to Joz, right? Like, 2 weeks ago. And so, like, we had that connection. And if it was, like, someone like Phil Schiller, I would do a very similar thing. But, like, I know that no one I know knows Tim. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, we don't even have that level. And,
there's many layers between you and
But let me tell you.
Exactly.
Like, I've been watching The West Wing. I choose, whenever I fly, I choose like a show that I work through, and I've been working through The West Wing, and it looked like the president, like in the sense of like there were people handling people around him.
I said, the Scrum is real. The Scrum is real. There are the handlers and the kind of like perimeter people. There's the PR. They're not even PR. You got led there by a PR person, but he has executive relations, which is a different thing.
Yep.
And that's a whole structure. By the way, you did it exactly right. You are a pro at this, because whenever I have been brought into an awkward situation where I'm talking to a senior Apple executive, especially when it's usually around a product launch, what do you say to that person? Yeah. And I always say, congratulations, it's a big day. I know you guys have worked really hard on this, right? Yeah. Like, for me, that is the generic answer, because it's always true, right? Like, I ran into Phil Schiller after I was at an event with Phil Schiller after WWDC one year on day one. And he's got a beer and I got a beer and we're standing outside in San Jose. And I said, Phil, congratulations. Good to see you. And I mean, I've been in meetings with Phil and talked to Phil going back again a long time now, early days of OS 10 kind of time. And he vaguely knows who I am, I think. And I said, congratulations on your big product launch. Because I know that, one, it's a huge effort to do any product launch event. And two, what else am I going to say to them, right? Like, I'm not going to say like, hey, Phil, I have opinions about your product launch. No.
Or I could just be like,
I'm not going to say that.
Hey, Tim, that core technology fee. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's the last thing. Although you could have said, I loved all the color that you added to the analyst call yesterday. You could have said that.
I could have said that. I'd be like,
what's Wamsi Mohan really like?
How's AI? How like so? But you know, I'm happy you felt that way, because to me it's just like, look, I'm just gonna be in this moment. I'm a human talking to another human. Like, that's all I am. And he was,
and he's a
gracious,
famous,
so
he's
lovely.
a famous person.
Yeah,
famous person. Doesn't owe you any time.
No.
Kind of generous to have the time. He's there for work, but it's like I feel like it's not like you ran into him on the street where you might even be like, I'm just not going to say anything because he's walking his dog or whatever. But yeah, what do you? It's a little interaction with essentially a famous person who's so far up in the chain that like and is at a corporate event that like what are you even going to say? It's more like you got to meet him and he got to meet you, and that sort of was the whole point of the thing. Was that.
And I was happy. I'm so happy because I'd never do this on my own. Like, I would never walk up to him. Like, I would never ever do that. Like,
fortunately, we know PR people who are fundamentally extroverts.
Like, years ago, I was at an Apple store and Johnny Ive was there. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I just left him alone. It's like, I'm not.
Yeah. That's
him. But this was like a thing that was arranged, and I'm so thankful for the person that did it, because it was like, wow, so amazing. Like, just like for me, like, I really wanted to come here and pick up the thing because I wanted to have it as soon as possible. But this is just like another check in the box of like, was it a good idea for me to come to New York to get the Vision Pro rather than trying to get it shipped to me? And yeah, the answer is yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, I think so. Bonus.
Last thing before we get to Vision Pro, you mentioned the analyst call. It's money time.
Money quickly.
And we must talk about it. So
quickly.
I'm going to go through this. Overall revenue for Q1 2024 was up 2% year over year. iPhone was up 6% year over year. The Mac was up 1% year over year, breaking a 4-quarter streak where it's been down in comparison. So that's great. iPad is down 25% year over year. Wearables.
And you know, my just to stop you on the iPad, $7 billion in revenue, down 25% year over year. All I have to say is, actually, maybe not that bad for literally every product that was bought with that $7 billion is at least 10 months old, if not older.
This is
maybe
the
it's
one
not
to
so
me.
in
I've been seeing people talk about this online, being like, "Oh, look at these iPad numbers." That is, as you say, it's incredible. They didn't release a new one.
$7 billion in stale iPads.
This is the
actually
first
not so bad
holiday quarter, right? Or like Q1, and the same with the holidays, where
quarter.
Apple has had an iPad, no new iPad for sale in its entire product history. And so the fact that they're only a quarter down is kind of, I think, actually shows the power of the iPad as a gift. That still so many people bought one, even though there wasn't a new one. There were there were fewer upgrades, right? Like, these were mostly, I expect, new or upgrading a really old iPad. It's not like some people who upgrade every year or whatever, because there was nothing to upgrade to.
That's a good point. It shows you the power of the product cycle that we think in a year-over-year way, and do people hold right? Like, it's how should I put this? A new product motivates buyers, right? Like a new product, you're like, oh, I'm going to get the new thing. But there is, in the background, there is a whole huge other chunk of the market that doesn't pay attention to new products at all. And they're all just about the cycle, or some combination, right? Where it's like, it's got to be long in the tooth and they've probably got to be prompted. But when you look at the $7 billion, well, they weren't prompted, right? There's been no iPad news in a year. So this is all product cycle. This is all people who are like, I would like to get either an iPad for the first time or a new iPad to replace this old iPad. And again, I'm not trying to make light of the fact that it's 25% down year over year. They had a very good holiday quarter last year. It was their best quarter ever. So there's a reason that they were not going to ever hit that number. But still, $7 billion is not terrible for a product line that is completely stale. Just that's my iPad note.
Wearables are down 11% year over year.
Woof. I don't think Vision Pro is going to help this.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think the Apple Watch and AirPods are just kind of stale right now. I think that's what's going on there.
What time period does this quarter run over? Like these results?
This is October through December, the end of December. It's the last 3 months of the year.
Do you think there's any possibility that part of that is like a chilling effect of the Apple Watch, that people weren't buying them because of the Massimo
It's
thing?
possible because of the Massimo. I guess it's possible. I doubt it really had a huge impact.
I don't think it'd be
11%,
right? But like
no. I think it's more that the Ultra 2 is just the Ultra again. The Series 8 or whatever, or Series 9 is just it's all. I think the Apple Watch feels kind of warmed over, which means that not that there isn't a buying cycle, but a lot of people bought a lot of Apple Watches in the last 5 years. So are they really going to update those, especially when the trajectory isn't that much? And then AirPods Pro, similarly, or AirPods in general, that line has not really given Apple hasn't given anybody a reason to upgrade. And then let's not even, talk about home is also part of this category. And home is basically like an empty wasteland for Apple too. Sure. My quick response here is to look at wearables, home, and accessories and say, this is like me writing on the top of their paper, like, see me after class. Like, this needs more attention to this category. This category feels lonely. Now, I know Vision Pro is going to be in it, but again, how much impact can Vision Pro make, even if they per quarter? Like, you could make a little bit of an impact, but it's going to be less than $1 billion. It is not going to dramatically move a category that was $12 billion. Not in the near term, anyway.
No, and I think it says services up 11% year over year, which fine. Like
it's
services.
just and it's not a seasonal category. I took the little black 4 quarter rolling average line off of this based on some feedback last time when somebody pointed out to me, it's not seasonal. It's like, you're right. It's
There's
not.
No point having
I don't need to smooth that out. It's a pretty smooth chart already.
It's just the 4 quarter rolling average is just a line going up and to the right.
It kind of just chasing. It just chases the bars. They go up together. It's not that interesting.
2 interesting tidbits. I'll start with maybe the least interesting one to us, which is sales in China specifically fell by 15%, and Luca Maestri stated that revenue will decline in the next quarter by they're expecting about $5 billion year over year, so it'll be less than Q2. They state that it's kind of, I put this word in, a tough compare due to last year because there was some pent-up iPhone demand, and it's actually going to be more in line with Q2 22 than Q2 23.
I think that's the message that they're getting out there, which is basically like Apple had some good times like a year plus ago, and they're not going to match. They're going to be more like a year before. And this is where Apple is right now. They set all those records for all those quarters. And the problem is the bar is set so high, and they're going to come off of it a little bit. And if you're an analyst or an investor who wants to see growth, you're not going to get it really. But they keep making the profits and spending a lot of money on, not only do they boost the stock price with buyback because of all those profits and dividends, but also they're investing in new categories like Vision Pro, maybe like a car at some point. And they've got a story to tell, but it's going to be down next quarter. The guidance is down.
And then the last thing is Tim stated there will be more to come later this year on AI.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think Apple is so insecure about being viewed as being behind on AI, even though, as we've said here, they're behind on parts of AI, right? Like they have actually done a lot with the neural engine. They built it into their chips for a long time. They've used ML modeling and lots of different features. But what they missed the boat on is generative AI and large language models. And those are the ones that have captured the world's attention, and they're behind on them. And so remember, the analyst call is an hour-long exercise in financial industry people trying to bamboozle Tim Cook into secretly revealing things about future products. And it is hilarious because it never works, and they mostly learn, but then every now and then one of them flies a little too close to the sun and gets to be smacked down again, and there's much laughter, or they try to reword it in a clever way. And this, in his prepared statement, Tim Cook said, as we look ahead, we will continue to invest in technologies that will shape the future. This includes artificial intelligence, where we continue to spend a tremendous amount of time and effort, and we're excited to share the details of our ongoing work in that space later this year. It's a product tease from Tim Cook, scripted in the analyst call.
Yep.
That doesn't happen that often. He does the little nod like, oh, AR is an area of interest, or the wrist is an area of interest, but here is like, stay tuned for AI, wink.
I think this made sense. I think this is a good idea. Like,
you're reassuring
it's not really
them, right?
saying
Like
anything, but what you're
right,
saying is like, hey, at this time,
but
when
don't
we have
stonewall
this-
them, right? Like it doesn't serve Apple for you to be like, we're not. Everybody's like, AI, please, Apple, are you behind or ahead? We don't know. And they're like, we won't tell you until June, ha ha ha. And all it does is hurt them. So they're like, yeah, we're on it. Watch,
Well, 'cause if you
literally
think
watch
about
this
Wall
space.
Street, right? Like, they look at Meta, right? Meta invested all that money, changed the name of their company because of the metaverse in their headsets, and then they moved on to AI. And now Apple's just released a headset. I think, like, if they don't say we're working on AI, there could be a perception that they are, quote unquote, like behind the curve, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
If all of technology is moving to AI now, they want to kind of say we're doing that too, as well as this other thing that we're up to. So I think it was good. I think it was good to do.
Yeah. I also liked, and this is always one of the things I actually like the best from these analyst calls, is that you get to hear Apple, like you and I and all of our colleagues, like we analyze Apple, we learn their behavior, we explain to people, like, you got to understand about Apple, especially in our, I would say in our external, like actual lives. People are like, what's Apple doing with this? And you're like, okay, let me tell you how Apple works, right? But it is refreshing, and also I would say affirming, to have an Apple executive state clearly the thing that you have been trying to interpret from their behavior. Every now and then they just say it, and you're like, there it is. And so what Tim Cook said was, our MO has always been to do work and then talk about work and not get out in front of ourselves. Like, that's it. He says, but we got things we're excited about that we'll talk about later this year. So then he kind of goes back away from it a little bit. But like, he says it right there. It's like, look, you got to understand, we don't pre-announce things.
Yep.
We do the work and then we talk about the work. And that has been true of Apple since Steve Jobs came back. But he wants to like say, yeah, so I know, I just want to reassure you we're doing it, but we're not going to talk about it. And I like that. I think that's, again, I just enjoy it when they say the thing that we've all been thinking or talking about. And like, I think Apple works this way. And then Apple says, let me tell you. Tim Cook just stands up on a call and goes, this is how we do it. And we're like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I told you. It's good to hear from your good friend,
My good friend,
Tim.
my new buddy.
He had a meeting with Myke in his future. Also, somebody asked what product the Vision Pro was going to be the most like, what previous Apple product launch it was going to be most like, and Tim gave the most Tim answer because he basically said he loves all his children equally. He's like, every product has its own journey, which they should put on a t-shirt. Each product has its own journey. Yeah, little Jimmy, he's not like his big sister, and that's okay. He's going to have his own little journey, and we'll see what happens, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to do the work and talk about it later.
This episode is brought to you by Fitbod. When you want to change your fitness level, it's hard to know where to get started, which is why I'm pleased to let you know that Fitbod is an easy, affordable, and approachable way to build a fitness plan just for you. Everybody's fitness path is different, which is why Fitbod uses tons of data to make sure they customize everything to suit you perfectly, adapting as you move and improve, so each workout will be challenging, pushing you to make the progress you're looking for. Superior results are achieved when a workout program is tailored to fit you exactly. This is your body, your experience, your environment, and the goals that you want to achieve. This is all stored within your Fitbod gym profile. Fitbod tracks your muscle recovery so you can avoid burnout and keep up your momentum, and it builds your best possible workout by combining AI with exercise science. Fitbod have analyzed billions of data points that have been fine-tuned by certified personal trainers to make sure that you have exactly what you need. And you can be sure that you're learning every new movement the right way thanks to more than 1,000 demonstration videos. Your muscles improve when they work together with your entire muscular system. So overworking some muscles while underworking others will negatively impact your overall results. This is why Fitbod tracks your muscle fatigue and recovery to design a well-balanced workout routine. You're never going to get bored too, because the app will mix up your workouts with new exercises, new rep schemes, supersets, and circuits. The app is super easy to use. You can stay informed with their tracking charts, weekly reports, and sharing cards that let you keep track of your achievements and your personal bests and also share them with the people in your life. And it also integrates with your Apple Watch, Wear OS smartwatch, and apps like Strava, Fitbit, and Apple Health. I'm traveling right now. Fitbod's super helpful in these instances too, because I don't have access to whatever it is I'm doing at home. Maybe I'm used to going to the gym and using Fitbod there, but I can easily use just body weight workouts in Fitbod, do them in my hotel room, or use the gym in the hotel, and Fitbod will adapt to me and exactly what I'm doing because I have my personal trainer in my pocket. Personalized training of this quality can be expensive. Fitbod is just $12.99 a month or $79.99 a year. And you can also get yourself 25% off your membership by signing up today at fitbod.me/upgrade. So go now and get your customized fitness plan at fitbod.me/upgrade. That is fitbod.me/upgrade for 25% off. Our thanks to Fitbod for their support of this show and Relay FM. So now is the time. We need to give our impressions of our first 4 days of the Apple Vision Pro. And I think, Jason, I'm going to do the thing. I think I'm going to put it on for this segment.
You're going to put it on?
I think so. I think I'm going to do this segment wearing the Vision Pro. So
okay,
give me 1 second while I take off my headphones and strap in.
Okay.
Have you done that, or have you done any podcasts with it on yet?
No.
Right.
I haven't.
All right, so I've taken off my AirPods Max because I'm going full strength here. AirPods Max and Vision Pro. Take off my glasses because I got my prescription. All right. I'm back with you.
All right.
And now I have my show notes in front of me and I'm looking out at Haleakala right now.
Oh.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're in a hotel room. That's not that exciting.
Oh, it's pretty
All right,
exciting.
I'm in as well.
Yes, let's do it. Let's go. All right, now.
Where am I? I'm at Joshua Tree.
Oh, is that your favorite?
I think so. It's got pretty clouds.
I like Haleakala.
It's California.
I like looking out on the mountain. I find it.
Haleakala is great. I've been there. I've actually been to where that picture is from.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, put my Mac over there. I got my show notes in front of me. So I wanted to kind of just say to start, like, I am finding talking about this product to be difficult because it feels so monumental and so huge. And even just using it is like sensory overload. Like, I find myself wanting to do something. I'm like, oh, I'll go check this thing out. And then I get lost because I get excited about trying something else. Like, I feel like I knew this anyway, but it's going to take more than 4 days of using this thing to fully form all my opinions about it, right? Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. I feel like it's going to take a lot of time. And I said this on, I think, MacBreak Weekly last week, that I actually appreciate that Marcus Brownlee has done multiple videos over the course of the last week, because I feel like that is really the ultimate strategy here, is that even if you had this thing for 6 days and as an advanced reviewer, you're just still processing it. And I feel the same way. Like, I wrote a little FAQ story over the weekend, but the truth is I've taken lots of notes and I've done a lot of thinking, but it's an entire platform with an entire new interaction model, and that's going to take some getting used to.
I guess we should probably start by talking about the comfort of the product, right? And the hardware itself. What strap have you been using?
Dual strap.
Yeah, me too.
Big dual strap boy here.
I tried the solo strap and I like it. But if you're using it for multiple hours at a time, which I have been, like, I've been using this product for hours and at a time, and it's been fine. You need the support of the top strap, and I am disappointed that they did not find a way to combine the straps, because at WWDC that was what we had. It was the solo knit strap with a top band to it as well. But that seems like the only place that ever showed up, and I wish that there was that option, because I like the comfort and the look and the feel of the solo knit strap, but it just doesn't provide enough support for long periods.
For the record, I've taken it off again now because I think I want to give this my. I'm still getting used to. I haven't done a podcast with before. I'm not going to do that yet. Because this is so important and I want to focus and it's sitting on my cheeks and it feels a little weird when I talk.
All right,
actually,
I'm going to join you. We tried
Okay.
our best. We tried our best.
No, we'll do
a
a special thing at the end where we have digital personas and people can find it probably on YouTube or something, and we'll figure something out. But it is. I feel like this is so important that we actually need to talk about it while we're not messing around with Vision Pro.
I'm back with you now. I'm back in the real world.
So people who close followers of Upgrade, I don't know. In June, we got our demos, and that was with solo strap. I think with the strap coming over the top. Anyway, it hurt my face. It hurt my forehead. The whole half hour, I was uncomfortable. And then I was in a demo a couple weeks ago with a dual strap, and it didn't hurt my face. And I reported that back last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it out of the box, and I had the solo strap was on it, and I put it on my face with the solo strap, and it immediately started hurting my forehead the same way. And I was like, oh, this is how it hurt in June. Like I had forgotten. I remembered that it hurt, but I had forgotten the details of it. And then the moment that I felt it, I was like, oh, this is it. So I just took it off and put on the dual strap, and the dual strap has been fine. In fact, I used it for like 6 total hours on Friday and probably close to that on Saturday.
Yep.
Wasn't really a problem. Wasn't a problem.
In general, I am surprised how long I can use this and feel comfortable compared to other headsets I've tried. And I think what it's come down to me is the clarity of the display. I think any problem I've had with VR headsets in the past has been eye strain and headaches, and I think that has come from not having clear text. And I will also say I've never used a headset with vision corrected lenses, and for the first day I didn't have my lenses, and when I put them in the next day, everything felt really good. But the first day wasn't a problem either. But like things are just clearer.
Okay.
My vision's not that bad. But it was clearer, and that was helpful. But I would say that like it's definitely more comfortable for me to use this for long stretches of time than any other product I've tried like this before.
Yeah, I think I might agree with that. It's they obviously took a great deal of care with this. And like I said, I just couldn't be more impressed with the feel on the dual band. The dual band really just solved it for me in a way that. And it's not that there isn't weight there. There absolutely is, and you do sort of have to get used to it. But I was able to settle in and use it for extended periods of time, and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, every time I put it on, I'm a bit surprised by the weight, and then I get used to it. So it's like, to me, it's like every time I put it on, I'm like, oh, that is heavier than I remember, which kind of tells me that how I find it comfortable, that over a long period of time, I just don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah,
and like,
as soon as I got that top strap adjusted right, because the top strap bearing a lot of the weight really helps get it off of my face, and I don't mind it so much being kind of like spread out across my whole head, but when it's really just kind of burrowing in to my face, and the pulling from the back in order to hold it in place, it's just not great. So the top strap helps a lot.
I would say as well, I've really come around to the look on this thing. I just think it looks cool. I think it is a cool piece of technology, really interestingly designed. And I actually think it looks good on people. Like, I started to come around on this when the reviews were coming out and seeing reviewers use it. And it's like, oh yeah, I actually think this thing looks pretty good.
I mean, for what it is, I agree.
Yeah.
Having a Quest 3, the Quest 3 looks dumb. It looks dumber than the Quest 2. It's got like, so I'll say this. There's a lot of debate about the idea of eyesight and having your little virtual eyes peeking through and having the glowing thing and the screen on the front and all that. Worth a conversation. But I will say this. Having it be dark in the front instead of it be, or a screen, instead of it being what Meta is, which is sort of like light plastic with sensors, like it's better. It feels less alien and feels more like ski goggles than the Meta, at least the Quest 3, so I think it is a better look.
Yeah, I think, look, with the eyesight thing, it does not look as good as as like Apple led us to believe that it was going to look, but I think it does the job, and I think it's fine. Like, I've seen my eyes in a mirror. I've been talking to Adina, she's here with me, right? And when I've been wearing it, she's tried it on, and like I've seen kind of how it can look without the eyes and stuff. I actually think it's fine. It does the job of what they're attempting to do. It isn't particularly impressive, but I still stand by their thinking and would like to see them continue to improve it. Like, the idea that you can very easily indicate to somebody that something is on and it's working and you're doing something, and when they can see you and when you can see them, I think that there is merit in that idea for looking at a device like this. I do think it makes sense. Just the execution leaves something to be a bit desired in version 1, but it is version 1 after all.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced that there isn't a way to do this that's simpler and less costly to indicate presence or absence, rather than having a screen with the lenticular layer and all of that stuff. Like, is this? I like the idea, like you said, of can I see you? Can I not see you? And all that. Not sure you need a whole screen with a rendered set of eyes to do that, but that'll be the debate on the inside, especially if you could save money and cut the price.
Yep.
That would be a way you could do that.
All that kind of
and
stuff.
The weight and exactly, and the power consumption, and processing time and all of that. But we'll see.
I've been seeing a lot of conversation about the field of view, like when you've actually got the headset on, how much you're able to see, and like the fact that there is kind of this border around it. You've got the foveated rendering, which can create some fuzziness. What is your impression and what are your feelings about when you've got the headset on and you're using it, how it looks? Like, just looks, the overall screen that you have in front of you.
Right, on the inside. Yeah. I will tell you, and I wonder if you felt this way too, my memory of June is that it was a much wider field of view than it actually is.
Yeah.
I think I was so blown away by the whole experience in June that thinking back, I was like remembering how amazing it was and not really having that moment where I kind of look at the field of view and compare it to my regular vision and all that. Although I wear glasses, so
yeah,
the field of view is actually quite similar to what I see through my glasses. It's just that I've got fuzzy peripheral vision out on the outside, where I don't have that with this. So it's noticeably narrow. Like I think Marcus Brownlee said that his number one thing that he would want improved on this is the field of view. And I agree. I think that it breaks the illusion a little bit, although you get used to it. I don't think it's a killer. I don't think it's a deal breaker. But yeah, if I were coming up with a constructive list of things for Apple to work on for version 2, finding a way to widen the field of view would be on the list, because it would be a better experience if you could see in the periphery more than you can.
Well, there's like a simple metaphor for it, which is look at every device Apple's ever made. All we ever want them to do is make the screen bigger, right? That, like, the Apple Watch, the iPhone, the Mac, like, you always want the screen to get bigger and the bezels to get smaller. This is the same thing. You just want the screen to get bigger and the bezels to be smaller, because that's what it is right now. Like, this kind of binocular-like effect is effectively the screen bezel. Is what it is analogous like. But to me, it doesn't bother me. Like, I feel like I have such a wide, like, because the difference with this product to the others is I can turn my head and get more screen. Right, which I can't do with other things.
The screen's there. You just can't see it out of the corner of your eye. And the screen itself is amazing. Like, looking at that screen, I thought to myself, this is why they don't have that many that they're going to be able to make. This screen, or screens, one per eye, is so good. And I know I'm coming from like the Quest 2 and 3, but even if you look through the cameras at the AR kind of stuff, the things around you, especially in the light that we often live in, because we don't live in super brightly lit places. Regular people don't need that because their eyes can see, but cameras do. So everything's a little grainy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just natural. That's just sort of how it's going to work with the pass-through. It's going to look a little grainy. Anybody who's had a Quest 2, it's like, oh, it's in color and you can see objects and it's not terrible. Yeah, this is all true. But my point here is, but the screen is way better than that. Yeah. Like, I was watching a YouTube video. I was actually watching Marcus Brownlee's latest video in the Vision Pro, using that app that
Juno. Christian
Juno,
Selig? Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, Christian Selig, which is just a YouTube player. It's nothing fancy, but it's nice because it's a Vision Pro app. Like, having MKBHD up in front of me in Vision Pro, I was looking at his face and like his skin tone and totally listening to his content too, but also just like marveling. It looked so good.
Yeah.
And that was that moment. And you sometimes you look at the 3D movies and stuff and you're like, okay, but like we're not used to looking at 3D movies. So sometimes the novelty of the 3D is there. In the immersive videos, sometimes the novelty of the immersion gets you. With a flat 2D YouTube video, I was able to just sit there and appreciate, this looks great. Like, the displays are absolutely spectacular.
My moment like that was just looking at photos, not spatial ones, just like photos we have taken on this trip. I was just flicking through them and I was like, this is the best device I have to look at my photos on, because it's massive, the colors are incredible, and I get that like dark, like it goes dark around my images that I take on my iPhone look spectacular on this device. And like for me, it's just like, oh, this is just an incredible way to look at the images that I've taken. Like, let alone all the things it can do with like panoramas and spatial, just like standard photos. Yeah, you're right. The screens are incredible. And like similarly, the clarity of text, I don't understand how they've done it. Like, because every device I've used in this class, text is hard to read.
It is.
It is so
and it's
clear.
It's not as clear if you're using the Mac screen sharing.
Yeah, that's true.
Although it's usable, it's quite usable. What I would say, I mean, we'll talk about Mac sharing in a bit, but what I am impressed by is that on native apps and iOS apps, iPad apps, the text is very clear. I am also surprised, because my initial response to Safari back in June was that I didn't think the text was good enough, and I think that they must have made some changes, because it is good enough now, which is it's that I heard through the grapevine somebody who told me that like it was good to read on it, and I thought, well, that can't be, but I can see it now. Like, I feel like it's unnecessary to use a Vision Pro just to read a book or something, but you could do it and the text would look good, because the text really does look very nice.
Do you have any different opinions to what we had thought previously about the eye and hand tracking?
Well, I have one that keeps coming to me, having used the Oculus Quest, is that I have one of those. Remember that iMac ad with there's no step 3? Mm-hmm. Remember that? Mm-hmm. This is like that, where I put on the Vision Pro and there's no step 2. Whereas with the Quest, you can't just put on the headset. You also have to pick up the hand controllers and put them in your hands. And I know they do hand tracking. It's not very good. But really, you want to just have the controllers. And so while I realize they've given up some precision by not having controllers, and that they should probably at some point support maybe a third-party precision controller for certain games or something, but like, I'm actually really happy that I don't need anything but the headset to use the headset to its fullest.
Yeah.
Eye tracking I think
is the key. Like,
yes.
The eye and hand tracking is the key if this is going to be a computer, because I want to use a keyboard. I can't use a keyboard if every time I need to select part of the interface, I have to pick up a controller to do it. Right?
Right.
Because then I can't keep working. I'm like, pick up, click, put down. Like, and it's different to using, say, a mouse or a trackpad in that way. Like the eye tracking is, I feel closer to that than trying to like point at something and click it with a remote. You know, the eye and hand tracking is fantastic. I was, in using it for the time that we've used it. I mean, I've noticed that sometimes it just doesn't work the way you want it to. I don't know why. Like I'm looking at a thing and it's not doing it.
And the thing right next to it is selected.
Yeah.
You're like, come on. Around the edges, I especially notice that, right? Where I'm like up a little bit high, and I actually have to move my head up, which puts it more in the center. And then the tracking is a little more accurate, and then it gets it. So there are those moments where I think, oh, see, around the edges, sometimes you end up just a little bit like I can't get that little bit more until I kind of lift up, and then it goes to the next item. And hand tracking, similarly, it's easy, especially if you're not paying attention to where your hand is. Like I have that too, where sometimes I'm sitting and I'm doing the hand gestures, and it's all working fine. And then I look to my left and I do the hand gesture, and it stops working. The reason is my hand hasn't moved, but the Vision Pro has moved, and now it can't see my hand. And some of that is just body language and learning the language of it. But it is noticing like, oh, you can't have your hand covered up. You can't have your hand all the way over to the right while you're looking all the way to the left, because it's not going to be able to pick it up. And just kind of keeping that. You don't have to have it right in front of your face, but you do need to have it somewhere where it's visible. And I have to remind myself of that from time to time.
Have you had any issues with the hardware? Has it let you down in any spot?
So the surprising issue that I've had, and I don't even know enough, I'm kind of hopeful that they will get feedback from their logs as people use this, and they will improve this, because I don't know how to report. I guess I could file a feedback about it. I don't know. The big hardware issue I've had is Optic ID. So when I set it up the first time, it said, okay, look at this thing for Optic ID. And then it's got a little animation, and it goes, doodle-loop, doodle-loop. It didn't work. Mm-hmm. Try again. Doodle-loop, doodle-loop. It didn't work. Like 10 times. So I'm like, okay, I don't really want to enter a 6-digit passcode, but I'll do that. I continued with the thing. I ran the software update on it to go to 1.0.2 or whatever. Hilarious. We'll get to it, but hilarious how all of your Apple skills just translate to this thing. Open the settings app, go to software update. Oh, there is a software update. Let's run that. Let's reboot our face, and then we'll see what happens next. Set up Optic ID on the new version, still didn't do it. Eventually, I repositioned the headset, and I opened my eyes in what I would describe as like a glare, I'm glaring at you, and I got it to train. But even then, a lot of times Optic ID fails for me, especially when I first put the device on, and I feel like I then have to kind of move it around a little bit, and again do the little glare, and eventually I can get it to recognize me with Optic ID. But my experience with Optic ID is that it was hard to train and not consistent, so I'm a little frustrated by that.
When you set it up the first time, did you have your lenses?
Yes.
Yeah. See, because I set mine up without my lenses. And then I've really struggled to set it up, because you can do a second.
Because it's supposed to change how it does Optic ID based on your different lenses have different Optic ID.
And it was failing time after time to actually set that up. Then I rebooted it and it worked. I don't know why. But yeah, I was having that too. This is obviously a very new way of them doing this stuff, and I wonder if there's a thing with your eyes that it's tripping up on.
So my eyes are unusual, and I wonder if they haven't, and this is why I don't know what to do other than talk about it and maybe file a feedback about it, but one of my eyelids droops, one of my pupils is bigger than the other one most of the time. So I have unusual eye things, and I wonder if some of my unusual eye things are what are making Optic ID go oh, I don't know who this guy is, I don't know, I can't train on this guy, which is weird. So I hope that this gets better, because I would like it to be more reliable for me. When it works, it's great, right? When it works, it's really nice to not do anything. And it's 1Password needs to enter a password here. Bloop, done. Like, you just
Yeah.
don't do anything. Just have your eyes with you. And I do usually. So that part is great. It's just that initial, it's usually when I put it on, because then it's positioned kind of wrong, and maybe it's pushing on my eyes a little differently, and my eyelids and whatever else, and it's getting in a weird state, and then I have to kind of struggle with it to get it to unlock. And then usually once I get to that point, it's good after that.
Yeah, this is I'm pleased that it works for you once you get it working, because if it didn't work, that would be really awkward. It's
unfun to I type access code every time.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Should we talk about personas for a bit?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
What do you think
They
of
are
the personas?
They are simultaneously impressive and weird.
Yep.
And I've seen some other reviewers say the same thing, which is, I kind of can't believe that Apple is able to generate a passable digital replica. It's not perfect by any means. It's not even great. Like, they look weird, but it looks like me in a video game, right? Like, it doesn't look like me. It looks like me in a video game, which is still pretty cool. It's just not me, right? And so the fact that they can do that with like a quick scan of your face, and they can build a 3D replica of you and your clothing, like, I think it's amazing technology. It is weird. Some people are not going to like it. I will say it is better off than, I mean, I wouldn't want to not be able to do a FaceTime or a video call in the Vision Pro. I'm sure it will get better. I have some criticisms of the policy, which is that there's no way to use sort of like an alternate character or something that's not you as for people who are unhappy with their appearance to be able to not use it. But I'm impressed with the technology. I think it'll get better. I don't love how even my digital personas, I've come around to thinking they're okay.
No,
not
I think
great.
yours
I also
looks really
took
good.
like 6 of them.
I think you look really good. Like,
I think my latest one is the best one.
Yeah. You look like you to me, like genuinely. Like I look at it, I'm like,
And
that's Jason.
that is the question: is do you look like you?
I think I do too. I have a particular problem. In normal conversation, the mouth of my persona does not move.
It is a problem. I have no mouth, and I must scream. You do have a mouth; it just doesn't open.
And
it's like you're talking.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I can get the mouth to open if I open my mouth wide, and I believed to be the case, and have spoken to some people who seem to know some things who agree. Beards are problems.
Beards are problems.
And so
Myke was wrong.
I submitted a feedback, which you can do. There's actually a direct thing in the persona part settings to submit feedback about your persona. It's a really interesting process where it shows you this is a capture of your persona, and then it shows you a photo that the Vision Pro takes of you while you're doing the capture. And it says, can we submit both of those? I said, yes.
Oh, nice.
It then asks you a bunch of questions, which are just like, and this is where like I think it kind of falls down a little bit. It's like you just tick a bunch of boxes, like what do you like, what do you don't like, and it's like a survey, but you can't communicate to them anything. But because I know
my mouth does not move,
exactly, which I need to tell them, but it doesn't show me that in the options. But because I know how this works, I then go to the feedback app and I can add some more text in, which I've done. This is one of those things where they just need more data, I expect, right? They need to see more people with more types of facial hair to allow them to understand how to make this work. And so, this is why this is a beta.
This is how I feel about Optic ID is the same thing, actually, which is, and I mean, we can talk about it more later, but like one of my main observations in using this for 3 days is it's a 1.0 OS. And like you get in the corners and you run into things where you're like, well, this is just a bug, right? Like this is obviously they had to ship it. And like, I don't know maybe it's 30 years of writing about software and 40 years of using software, maybe. But like, you get that spider sense, right? Which is like, oh, yeah, it's like this got left behind. This got shipped, but they probably know it's broken, or this got shipped because it worked okay, and they know they need to fix it, and then people are going to tell them how it's broken. But like, I get that vibe a lot. I'm not saying that it's super buggy, but I'm saying that I get those moments where I'm in the corners of the OS and I think, oh yeah, okay, yeah, like that's just it's a bug. It like I do. There are just things that it's a new OS on a new device, and like that stuff happens even if you're working on it for a decade.
Yep.
Like you ship it and there's stuff in it. The personas, they even labeled it with beta, so they're really like, yes, we know. I'll go back to what I said before, which is it would be nice if they built some characters that were obviously not people, real people, but that people could inhabit. I think that would be good, because not everybody wants to inhabit their particular body, and that would be a good thing for them to do for those people. But I'm sure the personas will get better, and they definitely have to solve the beard problem, for sure.
For sure. But I will say, look, I was super low on personas, like, because in my WWDC experience, the persona I was talking to broke in a pretty catastrophic way. I am a persona believer. Like, I've had multiple FaceTime calls with people now, and to me, I think they look great. Like, considering what you do, which is, it's so simple. Like, it takes a minute, and it generates them in like a minute. I thought it would be like, come back tomorrow and it will be ready for you or something. And the amount of, when I talk to people, it's a better experience for me talking to people than the people talking to me. There's so much expression in the faces, and the expressions that the faces make look like my friends. Like, I've had like 4 calls now with 4 different people, and like most of these calls have lasted a little while because we're kind of just like using it. Me and you had quite a long call, and by the end of it, it was just like me and Jason are just hanging out right now, and it really felt that way.
I didn't have that same experience because your mouth didn't move.
Yeah,
but,
pretty upsetting.
yes, I agree. So there are a couple things going on here. 1, it's your actual voice. 2, it looks like you. 3, it does have some facial expressions. 4, you don't see yourself. You're just with the person. 5, am I up to that now? You can bring them close, and it's like a 3D window into their face, but you can also move them around. It's like you're moving the camera when they're off to the side. You're looking off to the side. It has this kind of spatial skeuomorphism kind of thing going on there. I think there's a lot to be said for it. That I think we talked a lot about the uncanny valley of personas, and they are viewed out of context uncanny. In context, we kind of like leap the uncanny valley a little bit because of all those other things I listed. Because you're talking, it's their voice. It looks more or less like them. It is making real facial expressions. I'm not sure you ever think it's a video, right? I'm sure that will happen where somebody will call a family member and they won't know that they're using a persona. I think we're also very critical. It's like looking at Tarkin in Rogue One, and everybody who knows that that's a CGI character and that Peter Cushing died a long time ago. You look for the flaws, but if you talk to somebody who doesn't know who Peter Cushing is and just has a recollection of him as being in Star Wars, and you see him in Rogue One, those people, by all accounts, don't notice. Because they're like, oh yeah, it's that guy, and they just move on. And I think that there is some truth in that here too, that we're kind of looking for the flaws. There are flaws, but the added context of the conversation, I think makes them, if not go away, it certainly mitigates them.
Yeah. And what I love about the persona calls is you don't see yourself, which I really like, because I think that adds a lot in those videos. And then also like in that thought, you can look however you want if you're going to have one of these calls with someone. You don't need to get ready. You know?
So I was going to say, I do a lot of podcasts, especially but most of them are audio only. When I do a podcast that's video, like Total Party Kill, this one, right? I have to take a shower, but Total Party Kill is a good example because we play Dungeons and Dragons. We do that on video, and there are, it is a very gender balanced podcast. And when I talk to my women friends who are on that podcast, one of the things that always comes up is the fact that, and I can basically roll out of bed and do a podcast, but socially, they have to put on makeup and make sure that their appearance is acceptable because that is how society judges women. And this is not a podcast about society, but I will just say this. I believe the way this works is if you dress up and primp and get a haircut and shave or put on makeup or whatever you need to do and then make your digital persona, they look like that forever.
Yeah. I was
and
really
that's
surprised.
Cool. That's
that
really cool.
It takes your clothing and uses that.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up putting on a t-shirt and a hoodie
Yeah.
in my most recent one because I wanted to be like super on brand. But I have thought about like tuxedo persona. And you can only save one, which is another problem, right? It would be interesting if you could down the road save different ones with different clothing or different makeup or whatever you wanted to do. But I have thought like, oh, you could like do a shirt and tie persona for your business call, and then you don't have to wear a shirt and tie, but it would be in your persona because my UCSD t-shirt and my Navy hoodie are in my current persona.
Yeah. Like, I realized it when I was talking to Steven and he had a Relay FM t-shirt on, and I'm like, hang on a minute. Like, it was like, because I just figured it just put you in something like what Memoji have, right? Where it's just like...
Right, generic clothing.
Just generic t-shirt, generic sweatshirt, whatever, yeah. Look, I've been totally surprised by this part of the product, and I'm actually pretty excited about it and where it's going to go. Because as well, there's that whole thing they spoke about at WWDC, spatial personas.
Yeah, that's the missing piece here, right? Which is they're still in a window, and I think what you ultimately want is what you and Gray have talked about on Cortex, which is ultimately you want to be in the same room with these people you're talking to, and again, we can talk about like what the fidelity is like, and they can't map your whole body and all that. So how do you show that? And do they have legs? That was a whole Facebook thing that came up, right? But the one thing that's missing is they are spatial, but they are floating in a little square. And you're not sharing a common space. And those are the two things that when I look at this, that I think are the immediate things that need to be addressed is I need to be able to share a space with them and not use SharePlay or iCloud to connect to a document in an app that's shared and then we each have each other on a window, but literally like a consensual set of items that we see together, which is, right? Like I want to be in the space with them looking at the same object as them.
It sounds like Zoom is working on that too, right? Like, which is cool.
Well, Zoom's got that weird thing where they like they cut out your background and then put you in a painting or something like that, right? Like they have that technology, so they are working on that. It's going to be Zoom-like. It's probably going to be weird, but it's not bad. But like Apple should do that too, because that should be. I appreciate that clearly things like SharePlay, like all that stuff is stuff that is laying the foundation for what they're going to be able to do with collaboration on and sharing on this platform. But that's the thing that jumps out to me is I want to be in the same room as the people I'm talking to, if that's possible.
This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Watching Netflix without using ExpressVPN is like playing your favorite video game and not using all the power-ups available to you. Why limit yourself when there's so much more fun to be had? Services like Netflix have tons of shows across different countries, but if you're not using a VPN, you just get access to the stuff that's in your country. With ExpressVPN, you can unblock those shows by amending where it thinks you're located, and it works with other streaming services too. This means that I could watch all of... if you were in the US and you were connected to UK Netflix, you could watch all of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's on UK Netflix. But I could connect to Canadian Netflix and watch all of The Office if I wanted to. It is as simple as opening the ExpressVPN app, choosing the country, refreshing the service that you're using, and you're ready to go. Like for me right now, while I'm traveling, I can't get access to the stuff that I'm watching on my UK services. So when I'm in the US, I can use ExpressVPN, tell it that I'm back in the UK, and get access to the shows that I was already wanting to catch up on. There are so many reasons to choose ExpressVPN for this. Super fast speeds. You can stream in HD with zero buffering. It's compatible with phones, laptops, media consoles, smart TVs, Apple TV, and so many more devices. They have servers in over 94 different countries, so you can connect to many more to gain access to tons of new content, and it works with many services, many websites, that kind of stuff. You can stop paying for full price for streaming services and just get access to a fraction of the content and get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/upgrade. That is expressvpn.com/upgrade. Go there. You'll get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free and support the show. Our thanks to ExpressVPN for their support of this show and all of Relay FM. So there's this thing called environments, which are basically full or can be full VR worlds that you can be in. Apple has a selection.
Right.
Some other apps have them too. What has been your experience of environments so far?
I like them. I feel like they're contextual, right? Like there are moments where I find my surroundings distracting, and it's nice to be able to dial that in. I also had a moment where I dialed it in halfway. I think using the digital crown, at the time I thought, well, this is a weird choice of the digital crown to have it be this. And is dialing in environments, is this going to be a thing, or are they going to discard this and say, okay, we take it back, that's a dumb idea? After having used it for a few days, I don't think it's a dumb idea. I actually think it's a really smart idea. The idea that you can reach up physically and say, I want to drop in or out of this virtual environment. By the way, if you press the digital crown, it drops you out. If you immediately need to go, you can short circuit this in a few ways. But I like them. I think it is funny that a bunch of them are just coming soon. So they shipped with a smaller number of them that they're going to have.
So weird to me. There are 2,
right?
And it just says coming soon. It's
coming soon.
What is that?
Yeah.
Why is that
You could just not have them.
Yeah,
also,
very strange.
Other apps supply them. There should probably be, and maybe this is the first time I've ever said this about Vision OS, so congratulations, Vision OS. You're a real operating system now. There should probably be an API that allows developers to supply their environments to the system.
Yeah.
Because right now, apps can have environments. Yeah, apps can have environments now, but they're only in those apps. And it leads to some weird situations where, if you want to watch a Disney movie in Avengers Tower or at the Disney Plus theater, you have to go to the Disney Plus app and then play. Because if you are in the TV app and it says, oh, would you like to resume Avengers Endgame, you can click that, but it doesn't. It just plays it in the existing environment. And so you end up in these weird things also where hey, I really like the Avengers Tower and would like to work there. You can't. You can only use it for Disney Plus. And I feel like you should be able to contribute to the system, right? And it's obvious that they will do that. It's coming soon. But I likened it to, in my little FAQ piece that I wrote, I think I mentioned this. When I write sometimes and I really need to focus, I put in headphones and crank up music, even if I'm working by myself in my house and there's nobody else here. And I could just put it on the speakers. I don't. I put in the headphones. And it's isolating and focusing in a strange way. Something in my brain kind of ticks at that moment. I've already had a couple of moments where I've thought, would I focus a little bit better if I dialed out my surroundings right now and went to one of these empty spaces that is an environment? And I think maybe. There are also other times where I'm looking at something and and Lauren's in the other room and she's probably going to come in at some point and tell me that it's time to start making dinner or whatever. And I want to see her in the doorway, so I'm not going to dial it in, right? That also is a thing that can happen. So I think they're really nice. They're high quality. They're have subtle animations that are really fun.
Sound.
And sound. I want more of them and the ability for, again, developers to build them. Yeah, subtle sounds, but very nice sounds. I really do like them, even though I only use them some of the time. But I think that's the whole point of the digital crown, is you only use it some of the time.
I use an amount of environment the majority of the time that I've been using it. I kind of dial it into about 50 or 60%.
Right.
So it's mostly
Although
just
you are in a hotel room, right?
Yeah.
It might be different at home.
Maybe. And so that has actually been really nice, right? Where right now, I kind of wish that I had the headset on because it's nicer to look out over Haleakala than to be sitting and looking at just the television in my hotel room, just this blank screen.
Fair.
I really like it. And I like the dialing in too because they haven't done keyboard occlusion, which they should do. So if you have an external keyboard, Apple they know the keyboard's there because they detect
Right.
it and put their little thing above the top so you can see
A little
text
floater,
entry.
which is very clever. Very
But
cool.
they're not showing me the keyboard. They're showing me my hands, but I can't see the keyboard. So when I see the keyboard, I kind of dial it into about 60 or 70%, which I kind of like anyway. And then I can see my keyboard in front of me. I can look around and see what's behind me. But in front of me is just this beautiful mountainscape. And I actually, for window management, really like it because it just feels more natural if I have this what looks like an infinite space in front of me that I can just put my windows wherever I want. Like it kind of, the mental model makes more sense for me to have these huge windows or loads of windows all over the place in a almost infinite space. If I had looking at an infinite space, it kind of helps me kind of lock in a bit more.
I do wonder, this is a sort of separate thing. Panoramas. So I have some spectacular panoramas, and I know panoramas aren't immersive, right? They're not animated. They don't have sound and all of that. I do wonder if maybe allowing users to like take their panoramas and make them an environment might be a thing that you could do, just like almost like wallpaper. But I think generally these are going to be not commonly made because they are full 360 renders with sound and subtle animation. They obviously take an enormous amount to make, but more would be better. Although, like, I love in Joshua Tree, I did the thing, so there's a Vanity Fair article that came out where Tim Cook said he watched a whole movie on his ceiling while laying in bed.
Yep.
And somebody asked me if you could do that. And so I did it. I opened the Disney Plus app and I put Moana on the ceiling and I was watching that. And I was in Joshua Tree. I wasn't using one of the Disney Plus spaces. And I dialed in Joshua Tree. And since I was looking up, it was just blue sky with clouds. Huh. And Myke, I almost turned off the movie and just looked at the blue sky with clouds because I was like, oh, that's so nice. It's just pleasant. And that's the point, right? Is that whether you're blocking out the outside world, and Apple philosophically doesn't want this device to be something that completely blocks out the outside world. But if you're going to do it, there needs to be a purpose. And it's sort of like to block out distractions and to relax you or make you focus. And I think they're really good. I want more of them. And it's saying coming soon. I guess that's a promise for more of them, but it does seem a little bit weird.
And it's also not just these VR landscapes either. Like, there are a set of them that just color your room with different types of light. So, which is just like really, so like you're just looking through the pass through, but they've got like I think it's like a morning light and like a summer light.
Yeah.
And it also changes the sound that comes through what are they called? Ear pods? Are they called? No. There's a name.
Sound pods.
Sound
something
pods.
like that.
So there's kind of like, there's like a wintry one where you got like, it's like you hear like a crackling of a fire. Like, they're also nice because it's like, imagine you want still to have the signal to you of like, oh, I write in the morning light or whatever. And it gets you in, like you're saying with music, but you're still seeing everything. You don't have to be locked off to the world. So like, I like that balance, but yes, I want more of them. And I want to be able to have third-party ones too that are available for me. Like, I want to record a podcast sitting in Avengers Tower. I want to do that.
Oh man,
I want to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And right now that's also probably a coming soon, but it feels like it's a, and then you get the benefit of being, I assume depending on how they want to do that, it's like if you're a Disney Plus person, you get to be in this environment. Mm-hmm. That's a benefit of having Disney Plus. Yeah, is that you get those environments. I like that. I think that's a fun idea. It's branding for Disney, and also the idea that like, oh yeah, I work on the scare floor now, right? Like that's what I do. That's great. Like
that scare floor one is great too. Like if you look up, you can see dust particles floating. It's like, oh, you really went all out on these. They're amazing. This is a computer. This is spatial computing. What has your computing experience been like? Away from the novelty of it, like doing work in Vision OS. What has that been like?
Am I wrong in thinking that this basically feels like a 3D iPad?
With window management.
Well, that's the 3D part. It is. So this feels so much like iPad OS. It feels like an iPad on your face. Yeah, okay. But think of it this way. An iPad where everywhere is screen. everywhere around you, and you can place windows anywhere you want. Because the iPad has fought this, right? This is one of the unique things about the Vision Pro is actually, for tech nerds anyway, it's the first completely arbitrary multi-window placement device that Apple has made since the Mac.
Yep.
Like, all of the work on iPhone and then iPad about like simplify one app at a time, maybe 2 apps at a time, maybe you could go into a special windowing mode, but it's limited and it's got all these things. This one's like, nope. Want more windows? Great. Put them wherever you want. Stack them in front of each other. You have to stand up to find that other window because it's behind the other one. We don't care. Go ahead. Do it. There's no expose for there. Probably should be some window management actually because I do lose windows from time to time.
Yeah.
But although if you look at the close box on a window and you hold, it actually lets you hide all the other apps, which is that's actually good sometimes. But it feels very iPad OS. The iPad apps feel actually not that far from being at home in this environment. They're fine to use. They don't feel broken not being full Vision OS apps, and I think that's because Vision OS is adding some effects and some extra things you can do with 3D and with translucency and things like that. But the fact is, if you are comfortable and the apps that you use have not opted out, if you're comfortable on an iPad, Vision OS is like all the iPads you could want in one place at one time. And that is, I think, that's when I got that moment of like, oh yeah, spatial computing. I see what you mean now. Because that's kind of what it is. It's like a spatial iPad. And I mean that in a good way. I like the iPad. The iPad is limited, but I like that. And then you can also do the thing where you connect to a Mac and then have all the other app windows around you. And then you've got both going on. It is, so for me, yeah, I feel like spatial computing, like I get why they have talked about it in those terms, because that's really what it is what if you could put windows everywhere, but it's iPad windows more than it is like Mac windows. Like the Mac there's no spatial mode when you connect to a Mac where you can take individual windows on the Mac and place them places. They just go on a 2D plane of your screen, but you can have iPad and Vision OS apps everywhere else.
Yeah, I like the feeling of like at the moment like setting up my workspace, right? Like, all right, I'm gonna open this, I'm gonna put it over here, and I put it there. Oh, let me put that right up there. Like, I like that feeling of like grabbing and moving these windows around me. Like, there is a physicality to doing it. It's like feels good. Like, I like that. The window persistence is really great too, right? Like, you've used it, you take it off, you put it back on, your windows are back. The problem is when you have to reboot the device, they all go away. And because of the battery life on this device, you reboot it frequently. And so I mean, not necessarily if you can keep it plugged in or whatever and not like totally power it down. But if you reboot it, they got to fix that, right? Like that's like high on the list of things to fix is it's like the Mac
persistence.
knows my Windows mostly. I mean, it doesn't do a good job with Stage Manager. Actually, is terrible. Like, if you reboot a Mac that use Stage Manager, it just forgets where everything goes. But if you do it regularly, it remembers the windows that are open and reopens them again on a Mac. And so Vision OS needs that too.
Yeah, I agree. The text input is broken. That is one of the most 1.0 things about this whole platform is that text input. I think the platform isn't very good at text input. I think that adding a keyboard or a keyboard and a trackpad or universal control, which we can talk about in a minute, I think that helps a lot making this thing navigable, especially just adding a keyboard, because looking and tapping with your fingers will get you a long way. But text input, the floating, like eye typing or finger typing on a virtual keyboard is doable, but it's not good.
No.
And then I would say there are also bugs. Like if you have a Bluetooth keyboard attached, it works really well. But in many contexts, it still puts up that floating keyboard and it occludes your content. It floats right in front of your face, and it needs to go. I mean, this feels like one of those things that's going to be fixed soon because it's so obviously busted. I've got a keyboard, I'm typing in this window, suddenly another window appears, it's like Clippy. Another window appears in front of it and goes, hey, I got a keyboard for you. And I'm like, okay, one, I have a keyboard.
I
see
you like keyboards. Do you want another one?
You want another one? Let's fill the screen with keyboards. It is, and it's right in your field. It's in your view. Like, I know they want it to be like where you can type on it, but it's also blocking the thing I want to type. And that I find that very frustrating. And again, I know that they're trying to come up with the answer to like how do you input text when you don't have another means.
Yeah.
I don't think it's great. I think it's also really confusing because you have this proxy keyboard and it's got a dictation icon on it. And what happens is when you dictate, it dictates into the proxy keyboard. It's also entering that text into the app that the text input is going into, which you may not be able to see. So I had several instances where I was trying to dictate something into messages and was frustrated that it wasn't working. And then I realized I was actually dictating into messages via the proxy keyboard, but I couldn't see it because it covered the text entry window of messages.
Yeah, and then also if you want to edit that text, it's so hard. it's
so hard.
Basically,
to select and edit text. Yeah.
The all of the means of text entry that are contained within Vision OS itself are for simple things only.
Yes.
If you want to do any kind of text entry, you need a keyboard. And so like to me,
you either always need to use a Mac and use a universal control, or you need a keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used the Magic Keyboard with it, and it worked great. It even doesn't do Command Tab, which bothers me. I don't know what it would do, but it bothers me that it doesn't do Command Tab. But it does Command Space. Spotlight exists in Vision OS.
However, in my experience, Spotlight doesn't want to go away. So like,
oh, interesting.
I open Spotlight, I open an app, the app opens. Spotlight's
like, what are we going to do next, buddy?
What do you want, bud? I'm still here if you need me. And it's like, no, Spotlight, we're done now. Like, me and you, we're fine. And then Spotlight's, but like...
Spotlight's waiting for a tip. You're in a hotel. Spotlight's waiting for a tip, right? Like, oh, you got to tip me before I leave here. Yeah, I haven't had that experience. I love that Spotlight exists there, but I agree with you. Could they do a better job? Certainly. I know it's a hard job, but like I keep thinking there's got to be a way to do sort of like a voice-driven text input. I know you don't always want to use your voice. You're in a public place or whatever. But yes, I think Bluetooth keyboard is your friend. That's number one. And they do some amazing things. You mentioned it before. It recognizes your keyboard and puts a floater that's like attached to the top of the keyboard so that if you're typing and not looking at where you're typing because you're not a touch typist and you're looking down, it will show you what you're typing. And it's just like that one is really brilliant and cool. It's the other one that's not so great. So Bluetooth keyboard is your friend.
That's where the passwords exist too, right? Like it's the quick type bar. So if you're using a keyboard and you want to enter a password, that little guy is floating there and you can just look at it and be like, So
it's,
like
and it's got
it's
like
really
suggestions
good,
are in there and
But there are tweaks, right? As you say, there are bugs. And like the fact that the software keyboard just keeps popping up and it seems to always be where you don't want it, which is very funny. But like, I just find if you are, for me, if you're doing some content consumption stuff, which this thing is incredible for, just use the on-screen keyboard. If you are looking to do any kind of work, you need a keyboard. But to me, though, that is exactly how I kind of expected it to be anyway.
And the thing is, it works really well. That's the thing. Other than the text input getting in the way sometimes, like, if depending on what you want to do, if all you have with you is Vision Pro and a Bluetooth keyboard, you can go a long way.
A long way.
Long way.
It's like using an iPad. Like that's what you're doing at that point.
In space.
And I meant to bring a trackpad with me and I forgot to bring my trackpad, but I have my Mac and I would say that like using the trackpad is good, but it's also just a keyboard and eye tracking work great together. It's
they work.
It's a very cool combo, actually, of like, I look where I want to type and start typing. I look at another window and I start, and it's like it follows you around. That is really cool. Like that combination, the combination of eye tracking and a physical keyboard is pretty sick. Like,
I found myself doing a lot of like, I'm typing, and then I need to use a mouse gesture, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And instead I go look, tap, move, slide, whatever, and then I'm back to typing, and it's different, but it's natural. So then you're using those gaze and hand movement gestures as your trackpad or mouse, but you're still using the keyboard as the keyboard.
Yeah, we didn't even really talk about the gestures. I've been getting on with them pretty fine. Like I'm still learning some and like trying to work out like how much of a gesture do I need to do for scrolling and stuff like that. But I've found it to be something I've gotten used to very quickly, like the look and pinch, look and double tap, like long press. Like as you say, like these things, you're really just taking like a thing you already know and translating it to a different gesture
for sure.
in a way.
Somebody asked me if it was fatiguing. It's not. I would say they're more natural gestures than using a mouse or a trackpad. I think you're probably less likely to get RSI from them.
I think it's fatiguing at first because you overact it, right? Like when you first use it, you're like your arms are all
like,
over
come
the
on,
place.
we're gonna scroll here.
But the more you get used to it, the more comfortable it starts to feel as it becomes more
a little
natural.
more subtle gesture. You know
That's
what?
the same
you
with
know
your
what
eyes
works, so you can
too.
do the subtle gestures.
Like when you first use this thing, you're
staring
moving your
daggers
eyes way more than you need to.
staring daggers at every icon everywhere. You're like, I got you now, and then later you're like, oh, I don't need to do that. Just glance. Just
So obviously we're Mac users, and this has a very cool integration with the Mac, where you can bring a Mac into the Vision Pro and use the Mac, use the Mac's keyboard and trackpad, use continuity and universal control, which I'm so thrilled that they added to this device because I didn't know they were going to do
feels very
that.
much to me like one of those reveals of like, oh, this is why universal control exists.
Yeah. And so what, you know, I would say, I reckon, I'm just going to guess we have very different experiences right now because I am currently on a 13-inch MacBook Air in a hotel room.
Yes.
So the idea of being able to get a 30-inch screen for my Mac where I can actually do my window management how I like has been very cool and very appealing to me.
Yeah. I did the thing where I took the screen of a Mac attached to a and it works with any Mac that's running maybe it has to be Apple Silicon, but it's running Sonoma desktop laptop. There's this weird thing going around where people are like, oh, it doesn't work with desktops. It's not true. I was just using it with my Mac Studio. But I did the thing where I connected and I resized the window and I had it be like exactly where my monitor was, but using the window. And you don't want to do that. Like if all you're doing is using a Mac and you've got a 27-inch Retina Studio display, you're fine, right? Like just use the real display at that point. However, there are lots of scenarios where you don't have or are not with your nice monitor. And you gave that perfect example. I did a bunch of Mac work this weekend with my MacBook Air in my lap, but a giant screen that I actually positioned sort of like right where the MacBook Air screen was. So it was like MacBook Air keyboard and then giant screen comes out of the top of the MacBook Air. And that is really nice. And then, of course, you can also add stuff to the sides and have a whole kind of experience happening inside the Vision Pro separate. And the latency is low, and it's a pretty good experience using
honestly,
a Mac. Plus,
to me, I don't feel like there is any latency. Like the only thing is just the crispness of the text. And I've been doing some things to mitigate that. So like I was doing some work in Google Docs. I just increased the zoom level of Google Docs, and it was great. So rather than 100%, 125%, and I can also then make the window bigger if I want to.
Yeah, because it's not as clear as it is if it's a native app, but it's still pretty good. And they're basically it feels like you're using the Mac. The illusion is perfect.
Yep.
And there are so many scenarios where it's better than the Mac experience that you would otherwise have.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty great. And then universal control, like it is mind-blowing to have that moment where you've got an app, a Vision OS app off to the left and your Mac screen is in front of you, and you move the trackpad on your Mac and the cursor flies off the edge of the Mac and pops as a little iPad cursor onto the Vision OS app and behaves just as an iPad app when you're attached to a Magic Keyboard would work. And you can do that in the 3D space. It never floats in space. It pops to the window you're headed for, essentially. Mm-hmm. I did have some bugs. I had a moment, I had to reboot, basically. I had a moment where I couldn't see the pointer anymore. I could see what was highlighting. That happened at one point.
Okay.
A reboot fixed it. But that was
like,
one of those moments of like, that's a bug.
You don't even have to do the dragging. Like, you can just be in the Mac, and then you go over there and look at notes and move the trackpad, and it's there. Like,
yeah.
I genuinely cannot get my head around how they have made that work. Like, there is a thing to me where it's like, if I have a Mac and an iPad, these are two physical things in the world. They can be maybe aware of where each other are. Like, you know, They're doing
Right.
whatever they're doing. But the idea that I have a Mac in front of me and I can take the screen and put it on the right and then go left and I'm on the notes window on the left, it is absolutely mind-bending to me.
It's
It's
pretty
like
wild.
magic. It is like actual
Yeah.
magic. Like, I cannot work out how they're able to do that. It is really, really, really cool, but not just cool, really useful. Like, that you have this kind of like Macintosh escape hatch for all the things that Vision OS can't do. I just have this window. It's right there. And you know what? I need a keyboard anyway. And I
Anyway.
have that. So I got my keyboard. Truly, bravo to whoever it was who had to fight really hard to get this to be the thing it can do, because it immediately elevates this product to being able to be usable by more people to get their work done. Because you can have an environment where you have whatever app it is in your Mac that you need open, and then surround it with native Vision OS apps. And you now have 8 monitors that you're getting your work done with in this one little package. It's really cool. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
So my tech issue here is that I saw the connect button one time.
It's very flaky for me too.
So generally what happens, and when it happened, that was awesome, because it's also a kind of one of these cool AR tricks where it's floating right over your laptop. It's detected where your laptop is. It sees it. It knows it can connect to it. But that only happened to me one time. I've had times where it hasn't listed the Mac that's literally in my lap. All the settings are right. It used to connect. Now it doesn't. I've rebooted things, and eventually it comes back. But the good news is you can use Control Center, which you get to by looking up, and a little firefly appears that expands into Control Center, and you tap on it and it opens. And there's a connect to a Mac button in Control Center, and it shows all the Macs that are nearby that you can connect to. And that has worked much more reliably. Although, again, I've had moments where my MacBook Air just doesn't show up and it's sitting in my lap and I don't know what that is. Feels very of a kind with some of Apple's other continuity features that sometimes they're a little flaky, right? It's like, oh, why is this shared clipboard not working? And the answer is, I don't know. I guess there's a reason, but when it works, it's great. And the auto connect is really nice. The one thing I'll say is, if you've got a Mac that doesn't have input devices on it, you can't really drive your Mac with your eyes. So it really is for laptops or for desktops that have keyboards and trackpads attached. It's not a VNC client. You really want to be right there with it, but it works really great.
I'm really excited about it. And like, I would say, like, I've had to do the Control Center trick a bunch of times too, but this actually just works really easily. Like, I never have that part fail, right? And I'm happy that they did that. I don't know why they put that in there, but I feel like they know it doesn't work 100% of the time.
Yeah,
so there's 2 ways to get it.
clearly.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. With Squarespace, you have an all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. You can stand out from the crowd with a beautiful website, engage directly with your audience, and sell your products, services, or even the content that you create. Squarespace has everything you need all in one place. You can make the most of Fluid Engine, Squarespace's next-generation web design system, to unlock your creativity more easily than ever before. Start with a best-in-class website template, customize every design detail with reimagined drag-and-drop technology for desktop or mobile, and you can stretch your imagination online with Fluid Engine. It is built in and ready to go on any new Squarespace site. You can start selling your products in an online store. Whether you sell physical or digital goods, Squarespace has all of the tools that you need to start selling online. Your customers can have flexible payment options. You can make checkout seamless for them with simple but powerful tools. You can accept credit cards, PayPal, and Apple Pay, and also offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay, and you have access to really awesome, best-in-class analytics to help you grow your business. You can learn where your site visitors and sales are coming from, analyze which channels are most effective for you, improve your website, and build a marketing strategy based on your top keywords or most popular products and content. If you have an idea that you want to get to the world, a business that you want to begin, Squarespace is the place to go to get it online. It's so simple, so easy. Could be great for you, could be great for a friend or family member too. It is fantastic. They have everything. Go to squarespace.com/upgrade and you can sign up for a free trial today. When you're ready to launch, use the code UPGRADE and you will save 10% of your first purchase of a website or domain. That is squarespace.com/upgrade, and the code UPGRADE when you sign up, you'll get 10% off your first purchase and show your support for the show. A thanks to Squarespace for their continued support of this show and all of Relay FM. Now, obviously, this is a truly fantastic content consumption device. What has been, you mentioned Moana already, but what has been your media experience like in the Vision Pro?
The clouds. Well, let's start with the immersive videos, right? So Apple has offered they're a series, like this first episode's a various series of these things. So they're short, but there are these immersive videos. We've seen there's the reel. Actually, if you go to search and tap on immersive, you can actually get the highlight reel the demo reel is available too. That's got a bunch of stuff that is not currently in the store. That's where the soccer goal and the baseball play is,
right?
like what we saw.
Yeah.
It's actually the version that I saw. It's a little different from what we saw in June. It's the version I saw a couple weeks ago. They've changed some of it, but very similar. And so they've rolled those out, and those are like 180 degree ish 3D immersive scenes. And so this is the woman who puts the lines across the, in the fjord with like hundreds of feet below her, and then she walks across it. And it's very impressive. Or it's Alicia Keys singing to you.
I would say
that one's really interesting because there are 3 different cameras
at you.
At you at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a little, all your social cues are like, why me? No, Alicia, not me. But that scene has 3 cameras, and you can actually see there are these little white kiosks in the room, and one of them is cropped out at one point. But then they switch to the other view, and you're like, oh, that's what my previous view was, and there are 3 of them. So you can see that for that one at least, they built a little thing to capture this. Also, with the prodding of Will Carroll, the sports writer, I did figure out what baseball game that one shot is from in the demo reel. It's an Apple TV Plus game. What a surprise that Apple was already there when they captured that. So those things, which is apparently this proprietary capture technology that Apple has built, they are so impressive. Like, the rhinos are amazing. The woman who is out over the fjord is amazing. Like, the dinosaur stuff was cool, although, again, a completely CGI capture is not as impressive to me as something that is from the real world, but still very impressive. The Alicia Keys thing is you're just a fly on the wall, except when she's looking at you, and that's a little disturbing. So those are amazing, right? And those are the fully immersive, like, this is not something you could go to a movie theater and see. It's like you're in the room. I found those pretty incredible. What did you think of those?
I haven't done many of them yet. I just played around with Encounter Dinosaurs again, because that one was fun.
Which is interactive, so it's not actually a video. It's a little more than that.
Yeah, but I haven't watched the immersive videos yet.
I had Lauren run Encounter Dinosaurs when she was in guest mode, and that was amazing to watch her like react to the dinosaur coming in and all that.
I had a Dina do it too. I think that's the
very
demo.
Impressive.
Like that, I really do. I think that's the demo.
That's why it's there. Yeah,
it's fantastic. That's why they broke that one out as an app, right? Like it's meant to be,
because it is interactive. It has to be an app, but it is immersive. So anyway, I think the immersive videos are great. I think my question is, what's going to get shot in this format? What works in this format?
Tim Cook and the NBA commissioner, Nate Silver, is that his name?
No, Adam Silver. Nate Silver is a different guy.
Nate Silver is the
538 guy.
Or close.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
They were together a couple of days ago and were kind of talking about like, yes, this is the thing. We're going to work on this, and it seems
NBA
like that's the thing.
NBA has an app that where you can have multiple games. It's definitely like the quad box gone completely wild, but that is my open question about immersive is, can you do, I'm sure you could do immersive highlights. Can you do immersive live, or is it just too much data? And I don't know. I would love it, though. Wouldn't that be something?
Right? Like, it feels like something you can get to, but maybe you
this
have
version,
to
maybe
wait
not.
a day and then you can watch the basketball game using that, and maybe that
Well,
would
that
be worth
was
it for some people.
that was when I got HDTV for the first time. It was so early in HDTV that they had HD from the Olympics, but you got it the next day. Which is, I thought was really funny. They're like, well, you got to wait. So yeah, maybe, or it'll be highlights or something like that. But still, I would think that they're going to be doing a lot of experimentation with that, probably with MLS and Major League Baseball and the NBA.
Yeah.
These are all good partners for Apple, and there are also some media partners like there's a Max app, and Max is a media partner of the NBA. So you can see that there are scenarios where these different groups come together. And of course, Disney is ESPN. So there are a lot of Apple partners on Vision Pro that are also rights holders. Plus, the leagues are interested in. There's an MLB and NBA app on there on day one. The MLB app, by the way, right now what it does is it plays you the 9th inning of Game 1 of the World Series last year, but in addition to the video, you've got like a 3D space where the pitches go, so you can see where the pitches were, or you can switch to a 3D space of the field, and you can see where all the fielders are as they move, sync to the video. It's a tech demo.
I haven't tried it yet, but I've downloaded the PGA app because they've got some previous golf games,
There's
matches,
some golf content
stuff,
as well.
where
it's all experimental.
You can watch where the shots go on a map, like a 3D map, as you're watching the game. And 1,000 people have sent me that F1 concept, right? And I think that kind of thing could happen in the future because F1 is also a very data-rich sport. So you could have like a live 3D map of the cars going around and watch. I think that is actually really the way to consume a lot of sports. Is not necessarily you could do the immersive thing. But there's also this other thing of using the data that you have about the game as it's being played to give cool ancillary content that is really interesting to help you further your experience of watching the game and be active participant in it without moving your head left and right to watch where the ball's going or whatever. There are two different ways to do this, and it's interesting to see how these are going to roll out. But I've watched some 3D movies and a bunch of stuff in the Disney stuff. I haven't watched anything in full, but I've watched lots of clips. It's so good. It's so good. I've never seen 3D look this good because the color is bright. And also the spatial audio. I was watching, what I did first is I went to the Disney Plus app, sat down in Avengers Tower, freaked out because I could not believe it. It was so good looking around and seeing all the little Easter eggs. Then I put the climactic fight scene of Avengers Endgame is what I wanted to watch. And so I watched that scene in 3D with spatial audio on this huge screen at night. It's funny, I'm in New York and I'm looking at New York, right? Which is also kind of funny. But yeah, that experience is so, so good. And my plan is, I haven't had the time yet. I'm probably going to wait till I'm home now. I'm going to watch Avatar in it. I wanted to do that. Apparently it's really good. And I'm going to watch Avatar in it.
Yeah, I agree. For those who don't know, the way 3D movies are projected in movie theaters is they have to project 2 images, which means that you lose half the light.
Yeah.
And so they're often very dim.
Yep, very dim.
And you have to wear, the 3D glasses.
Glasses over glasses, right?
Right. So this is a superior experience because both eyes are full brightness, and you don't have glasses over glasses. And it's a good display. So they look really good in a way. I don't love 3D movies as a concept, but I like them a whole lot more in this context. And even on the Quest, I would watch 3D movies that I would rip from a Blu-ray because it was interesting, but also it was not a bad experience, and it's way better on this. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. There's a lot of 3D content out there. It's mostly movies because there are 3D versions of movies in theaters. They're never turned into home video anymore, right? Because 3D TVs didn't work. I would imagine that everybody's going to dust off all their 3D content and make it available. I think the questions are what's available for rent or purchase in the TV app? What's available on apps? So Disney's got 3D content now. The Max app doesn't have 3D content. But Warner has lots of 3D movies that they could put in Max if they wanted to. I don't know whether they do or not. This is the question. I also did run into a bug, which is interesting, and I don't know what form resolving it will take. But if I go into my library in the TV app and show 3D, it shows me like 9 movies that I bought that are in
Mm-hmm.
3D. And I play them and they're in 3D. And it asks you, it says, do you want to play this in 2D or 3D?
Yeah.
Which is nice. If I go into their store where they list everything they've got in 3D, some of the movies in that list are movies I own.
Oh.
But they're not in my list of library 3D movies. So like Into the Spider-Verse. So I tap on Into the Spider-Verse and it brings it up and it says, well, you own this. Do you want to watch it in 3D? And I say yes. There's actually even a tile, play in 2D, play in 3D. I tap play in 3D and it plays it in 2D. I can't decide whether
Weird.
this is a technical issue or if Sony hasn't licensed existing purchasers of Into the Spider-Verse on Apple TV to get access to the 3D version. But also, it's not possible for me to buy the 3D version because I already own it. I'm sure it'll get resolved.
Yeah.
Either it'll show up or Sony will ask me to pay more money to upgrade it to 3D inside the TV app. I don't know what it's going to be. It's a bummer because that's a really great movie in 3D, Into the Spider-Verse, because it's just beautiful. It's beautiful anyway, but it's extra beautiful in 3D. It's one of those kind of like really good movies to watch in 3D. So they've got a store issue there where there are movies that are marked as 3D, but they don't show up in your library as 3D, and you don't have access to them as 3D. So that's kind of a bummer. But there's still a bunch of 3D content, and I hope there's more. And it makes me want Apple to, at the very least, start shooting some of their TV shows in 3D. But I don't know if they'll do that because it does cost to do a 3D conversion costs, even if you don't shoot it in 3D to convert it.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder if they're going to go back and like convert Ted Lasso to 3D or something like that. I don't know. They could do it. It's all a post-production conversion. They could do it if they wanted to. That would be weird. More likely, they're gonna have like they're gonna like work with Sony and license it and whatever they have to do to make like an immersive environment of the locker room or something or the field.
I want to watch For All Mankind sitting in Jonestown
Instead of just being on the moon, which is a little more sterile. Be right there saying hi, Bob. Sure,
hi, Bob.
So all that's good. And I'm curious about them. I have a note about, speaking of the quad box and the multi box and the Infinibox. That's possible with this. One of the issues is I said it was basically iPad OS. As we know, iOS and iPad OS really don't want to play more than one thing at a time. And so sometimes something will play and your music stops or your video stops, even if you're multitasking. So I tested this out a little bit on Vision OS. And with 2 Vision OS native apps playing video at the same time, not getting immersive in any way, it works. I was able to get like the Max app, and I forget what the other app was. The NBA app. I was able to get 2 native Vision OS apps to play video in different places at the same time. I was like, yes,
that's cool.
Right? Because that's a thing you can't do on the iPad. However, if I used the Fubo app, which is an iPad app running in Vision OS, it stopped other video. Or stopped itself.
Right, okay.
So there's still some stuff to be worked out, but the dream is alive, right? And this is the thing that I really want to see. The dream is alive.
That's the hardest thing, is to get the fundamental thing to work.
Right. So what we need is the ability to have multiple video players playing simultaneously in a space. And separate from that, when you generate, if you're a video app on Vision OS, you need to be able to support multiple windows as well, right? You shouldn't be locked into one. So if I'm in the Max app, let's say, and I want to put up CNN in one window and a live NBA game from Bleacher Report in another window, both in the Max app, I should be able to do that. And then if I want to add an MLS match from the TV app, and I don't want to be immersive, I just want to show me the soccer match, I should be able to open that app and have 3 of them running. I really should be able to open even more. I know that at some point the processor will yell at me and the network will yell at me, and it's going to have to manage that. But like, this should be a way of doing that, because with Vision OS, we're in a multi-window space, and all the apps need to work at once.
Talking about media, do you have any thoughts on the battery life? Has it been a concern or a problem for you?
I've been mostly tethered, so it hasn't been. At one point,
Yeah.
I was using it thinking I was tethered, but I mean, we're always tethered to the battery, right?
Yeah.
Which it's a learning experience of like, where am I going to put the battery? In a pocket next to me? If you put it next to you when you stand up, then like, oh no, the battery has to come with me. There's a learning curve there. It's not ideal. It's a little awkward. You learn it, but it, obviously in the long run, you don't want to have the external battery. That's just where we are now. But I did leave it unplugged at one point, and I got the little chime, the little sad chime that comes from AirPods that said, oh, you're at 20% or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, I'll plug it in. I haven't tested the battery life in terms of like timing it. I've just been trying to test the interface.
Just
but
using it.
it's, yeah, I think it gives you enough time to spend a couple of hours if you're completely untouched. I will say that in most contexts these days, you actually have a place to plug in a USB device, even like on airplanes and in cars and whatever else, wherever else you might be, in the backseat, of course. But yeah, it seems fine to me, other than just being awkward.
Yeah, it hasn't. The battery is not a problem. Like just having the physical thing for me, because I'm like stationary when I'm using a device, so I'm getting up and walking around, so it's not an issue. And the battery life, again, as you say, like I haven't found it to be a problem, because I can, if anywhere that I can imagine myself realistically wanting to use this, I have access to power. Like, and I think that is fine. And we'll see how that goes in time, right? Like we might have different feelings on that a month from now. And that goes for all of this. Like this is not a review, right? Like we have not
the earliest
reviewed
days.
These are our impressions. And like there's so much stuff that I'm sure we've had lots of things we haven't even touched on today. This is going to take a lot of time to talk about. Like I have a question, like my final question I wanted to ask ourselves today is, what will we use it for? And I just don't know if we can realistically answer that right now. But at the moment,
we can
my
guess.
answer is I'm trying everything, right? And seeing how, well, during this episode today, I found out I don't think it's good to record a podcast with this thing on. But, but I'll work that out. Maybe in a month, I will know how to do that, and it will be very comfortable for me, and it will be a great way for me to record podcasts with one of these things on. But at the moment, I'm trying everything, and I will know in time what I want to use it for.
Yeah, look, this is early days. I think one of the challenges here is people are going to view this through the lens of so many products that we talk about, which is, should I buy it? And this is an immature product in an immature product category. So should you buy it? Like, should you buy it for real practical purposes is going to be a tough sell given the price, even though it's very capable. I think there's an element of, I want this because it's the future, that has to be calculated for it to make sense. Because otherwise, you got a supercomputer that lives in your pocket. You got incredibly powerful computers that you can buy. Like, this thing is the future, and that's why you buy it, because you want to get a taste of the future, or you have a very specific use case where it makes sense. But for the most part, this is exploratory. This is the beginning of a journey. This is a new product in a relatively young category. It's super cutting edge. It's very impressive. But a lot of the reviewers, the reviews that have already happened are, it's incredibly impressive. In fact, I would say, we haven't really talked about this, I think the reviews are way more positive than I ever expected for this.
I was surprised
way
by
more.
That. Yeah.
Because it is such a weird product and it's so expensive, but pretty much all the reviewers have said it's very impressive, which it is. It is Apple, like MKBHD said something in a couple of his videos that I thought was so great. He's like, people complain all the time about, oh, it's just another speed bump. It's just another minor incremental update. When will they do something new and interesting? And then this comes out and there's a reaction from some people that is like, oh, this stupid thing. It's like, no. You don't understand. This is what we've been asking for. This is Apple making a wild new product that is not like anything it's really made before in some ways, and trying to figure out what it is and what it's for, and like I think that's why so many of us got into this business, is the exploration of like cutting edge, we don't even know what it's for, let's all figure it out together kind of stuff. And that's what this product is. So I'm excited by it. I don't know what it's for either. The use cases that I keep thinking up are when you're, one is travel, or when you're in a space where you don't have your stuff, right? Maybe you've got a laptop, but you don't have a big screen. If you're in a hotel room, I think that's really a good thing. Maybe if you're on an airplane, although there will be the social issues of being the person who's wearing the headset, that'll maybe go away at some point. I don't know, but it'll be there for a while. I feel like that is a use case. Clearly, the entertainment part works. Like the screens are great now in terms of that part of it, but the price and the availability of like content for it is still a question mark. But that, I feel like that is, for a product that Apple, I think, wants to be part of a long journey to a future product line. One of the tricks you have to do is you have to make it like, what do we get for people to buy it now that keeps us alive for the future where we know we're going? And I think entertainment really is not the immersive stuff, the 3D stuff, and then just the quality of it as a video player for privacy and travel and things like that, I think is pretty good. And then, yeah, as a computing device that gives you much more screen space, that's a thing where it, I think, is a winner now, for some people. And beyond that, I mean, who knows? I still don't know. And I've been using it a lot, so I'm sure that over the weekend I've been using this in ways that are not ways that I would normally use it, because I'm pushing it, because I'm trying to learn about it. It remains to be seen what use cases I will embrace for it, beyond a night where Lauren's working late and I'm watching a movie by myself in 3D that I want to see that she doesn't want to see, stuff like that.
But you can rest assured we're going to be talking about it here on the show over the next
for sure
weeks, months, years. I guess this is our era now. We're in the Vision era. But in the meantime, if you want to see what we're talking about, what we're thinking, you can find us online. Jason's at sixcolors.com. I'm sure he'll be writing about a bunch of stuff there. He is at jsnell on zeppelin.flights on Mastodon. I am at Myke, IMYKE on Myke.social and on Threads and all those kinds of places. I've been posting stuff on Instagram too, that you can go check out, like photos and videos of me using this stuff. If you want to find video versions of this show and clips, you can go to YouTube. You can see the entire video there. We are at Upgrade Relay. We're also on Instagram. We're at Upgrade Relay. You want to see clips, and also on TikTok as well, where you can find us. Thanks to our sponsors this week, the fine people over at Squarespace, ExpressVPN, and Fitbod. Thank you to our members who support us with Upgrade Plus. You can get longer, ad-free versions of the show every week by going to getupgradeplus.com. If you have feedback, follow-up, or you'd like to ask us some questions, especially Ask Upgrade for next week. We ran way too long for Ask Upgrade this week. But if you have questions about the Vision Pro, go to upgradefeedback.com, send us in there, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we can over the coming weeks. Until next time, say goodbye, Jason Snell.
Goodbye, Mike Hurley.
Okay, so through a very convoluted system, we have now started a Persona call.
Upgrade Persona Edition! Woo!
And so I can see you right now. And I guess we're going to put the video together from this somewhere, right? And
yeah.
We'll put it up somewhere.
Because otherwise it's just our voices and it doesn't really sound any different from that. But I'm seeing you. I'm seeing a very Myke-like version of you, other than the fact that your mouth doesn't move. Oh, you opened your mouth. That's nice.
So it looks...
I can see that.
A lot like me, I think. Like it really
I agree.
looks like me. But the mouth doesn't move when I'm talking normally. If I talk like this, my mouth moves. But other than that, it doesn't. Yours is, I think your persona is fantastic. Like, I really do. I think that
thank you.
Looks just like you.
It's pretty close. This one I'm the happiest with of all the ones that I've done.
And I quite like the zoom, the way that zoom works here, to be honest. I think it looks pretty cool. Puts this in what this looks like, this room that it puts you in. So zoom kind of cuts out your head and superimposes you onto a room and like background. It looks like the rooms that when you have like briefings
that
of
Apple
Apple
uses.
they look like those rooms, which is really
Absolutely
interesting.
does. It's this like light wall and a wood table with some things on it and some pictures on the walls. It absolutely does. We have different pictures on our walls. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that until you just said it, but that's really cute. Look at us.
Yeah,
I've gotta
interesting.
Say, I have super strong neck right now that I am using. Vision Pro and AirPods Max. I would tell you it's heavy. This is a heavy combo.
All right.
This is not a comfortable combo by any stretch.
Well, from here, it looks like you're just unencumbered because
I'm
that's the
just
beauty
chilling.
of the digital persona, I guess.
Look,
Yeah.
when you see my persona, there's nothing on me. I'm
No,
really coming
and
around
including
to
a
these
mouth that
personas.
works.
I'm really coming around to it. I think this is incredible technology. Like, I really do. I'm really blown away by it.
Yeah, just got to get that mouth working. Got to do some beard detection.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna deal with it. I mean, maybe the next time I have a haircut, I'll try it again, right? Because that's, I guess, when my beard is shortest. Maybe that will do it. But I tried everything. I tried like pulling my mustache away from my face, right? So like really trying to show my lips, and I reset my persona like 8 times.
See, I don't think it's your persona's problem. I think
No.
the problem is the detection when
Yeah.
you're wearing the device that it can't see your mouth moving,
You know, like it might
except
be
exaggerated.
Yeah, you know what? That might be it, right? That it's like the sensors see my mustache and don't see my lips. Hold on, let me move these. Moving my
Yeah,
mustache.
just stick your whole face out.
Hello, Jason. No, it's still doing it. See, like it just like is what it looks like.
Yeah, but I think it's the playback, not the capture,
Yeah.
because your mouth does open and work. So I think the persona is functional, but your beard is not. You have a broken beard on the
How dare
scan.
you. How dare you.
The real time. I know. I'm sorry.
Maybe
Shave
if
it.
Let me talk. See, I just can't get it to move.
Oh,
So-
that could be a solution.
Yep.
If your persona is good and it's just the sensors, that you could
No.
shave your beard now,
No.
and while you wouldn't have a beard in real life, you would have a beard as a persona, and you could live your
Hey,
whole
look.
life as a digital persona from now on.
That is a thing I could do, yes. It is not a thing I will do.
Not a thing you will do. No,
It's a thing I could
I
do.
understand that. I understand that. I don't think I want to do this I don't think I want to do podcasting in this space, mostly because it is, honestly, it's not the way, it's weighing down my cheeks where I am
Yep.
talking.
Yep.
And so it makes talking a little bit awkward. And so I'm not sure I really want to go down that route with it. But
Yeah, I wasn't
for this,
sure,
it's
like, if
it's
it
fine.
would maybe change, like if it's resting on my nose, like that might have changed my voice. My biggest issue right now is I'm not sure I'm talking correctly into my microphone. I can't see my microphone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, my microphone is invisible floating in front of me.
But also, if I
Oh.
look at it, it's so close that I get double vision of it. And so, like, I'm not sure. So, like, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm touching
I just
it, which
moved
is
my Mac
probably
window out of
too-
the way.
Too close. But I am still
Bring it back
impressed
in.
by these personas. I think it's I think it is an incredibly impressive start of this technology.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a lot of laughs, and
Mhm.
it is a little bit uncanny, but pretty, like I said, pretty amazing that you can create a 3D video game image of a person with just a quick scan, and then it expresses, it's got visual expressions, and it knows when you're moving your face and when you're moving your head, and yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty, I agree. I think that it's a pretty good experience, and the alternative is nothing, right? The alternative is you're wearing a thing on your face and you can't see anything. So then you're just voice only, and it does, I guess, lead to an era where there'll be all sorts of video calls where you won't even know, like, although here's something we didn't talk about in the main show that we talk about here is that digital personas are locked up tight, and I think one reason for that is they don't want to do impersonation. So, like, you have to verify who you are before you can have access to the persona. And I think it's tied to optic ID. So it needs to, not just somebody with your password can be you. They have to have your eyes, which means it can really only represent you. And I think that's smart.
I think if you choose not to have optic ID, and if somebody has the passcode, they could do it, right? Was that how, would it work?
I don't know.
But their plan, though, is that, like, really it should be tied to an individual. Like, in the same way that a device is really, too. Right? This
and
is
your
an
face.
individual thing. And it's my face.
Yeah,
but we're
so it should
already
just be yours.
fast approaching a world where you won't be able to believe everything you see online. So this is just going to be another one of those things.
Well, I mean, there are already filters and stuff, but this suggests that, I mean, what's to stop iPhone users and iPad users and Mac users from, other than sensors, I guess, right? But the other image technology can already, you could already build, based on sensors, you could build a digital persona and then use it everywhere. And people would never, not even know that, you're not real. And it does open things up to, do they offer contour lighting and changing, there's some basic stuff in there, but there's touch up. I wonder if that's going to be a thing that you do too, where they will increasingly let you sort of touch up your appearance and alter your hair and do other things like that, or have alternate appearances or alternate clothes, or like there's plenty of places that this could go.